There's a few things in life that are certain: death, taxes, and Donald Trump doing something racist. U.S. Representative Ayanna Pressley released a scathing report on Donald Trump's clemency actions. The report, called Trump's Clemency Gap, showed that presidential pardons under this administration have largely benefited white and rich people. Shocker. In a statement, Presley said, presidential clemency should be used to address injustices, not reward insurrectionists and embolden corruption by erasing massive financial penalties for the wealthy and the well connected. This report, by the way, is the first of its kind. It contains compiled data of Donald Trump's more than 1,700 pardons this year. That's a lot of pardons, man. He's been here but a year. It feels like a decade. Where Trump prioritizes his quote most extreme supporters and political donors. These are not people who went through the official DOJ review process. Out of 18,000 petitions, only 17 were granted clemency through the application process. The rest of them, personal requests. According to the report, 85% of those pardoned or had their convictions commuted by Donald Trump were white people, and very few of them were for drug offenses, only about 5%. That's a category in which Black and Latino defendants are overcharged or wrongfully convicted. Uh, they reported, uh, the report, excuse me, also found that pardons forfeit $1.4 billion in restitution and fines that the federal government could have used to fund, I don't know, healthcare, canceling student debt, making school lunch free. This isn't just about money though, and giving his buddies a slap on the wrist. This also hurts other urgently important issues like women's reproductive rights. Trump pardoned 10 out of 17 women who were convicted of obstructing or denying women's access to health care. Do you know how crazy that is? 17 women were convicted, or at least if you were convicted of obstructing or denying women's access to health care, you had a more than 50% chance of being pardoned. 10 out of 17. Ayanna Pressley's message to the administration is, quote, a person's wealth or connections should not determine whether they receive clemency. The nation's prisons are mostly filled with people who come from poverty and low income backgrounds, but nonetheless still deserve equal opportunity. So a couple of things here. First, Donald Trump has provided the most disturbing, indefensible, and absolutely egregious display of racism, classism, cronyism when it comes to clemency, when it comes to pardons, etc. There's no doubt about that. But I also want to be honest about the fact that these things are always rooted in race and class. These things are always for the powerful, not just the rich and the white, but also just the powerful. Joe Biden promised he wouldn't pardon his son, and then he came up with a whole calculated scheme, complicated argument for why he had to do it. When you look at who the Clintons pardoned, you look at who the Bushes pardoned, the Obamas pardoned, you're always going to see people who are undeserving. And again, they're also, rather than giving like clemency, which would allow the fines to, or commutations, which would allow the fines to stay, they're basically saying these people are now, by all legal standards, innocent or not guilty, and therefore when they don't have to pay those fees. And so when Donald Trump pardons his rich and wealthy friends and his powerful friends and his famous friends, they also aren't paying their restitution. They aren't doing other things that the government could use to fund the vulnerable. So it goes both ways, as I said. And again, it's all presidents, it's all of them. But Donald Trump is taking it to another level. He's not even pretending to be fair. He ain't waiting a 4-year period like other people did. He's like, look, I'm going to do this whenever I want because there's no consequences. So in his first year, we're already looking at 1,700 of them. We're not seeing people who are wrongfully convicted. Again, we're not seeing people who are on the wrong side of the drug war. We're seeing people who play into Donald Trump's political interests, his financial aspirations and interests, And also, he wants to be wildly popular like a cult leader. So yeah, he knows that the pro-lifers who stop women from getting reproductive care, he knows that those people do crazy things sometimes, blowing up clinics, harassing people, locking doors, whatever. He knows that if he pardons those people, it's another feather in his cap. He knows what he's doing. Presidents should weigh in to these matters when they have an opportunity to right a wrong, to correct something. And to be honest, I wouldn't even be that mad if he pardoned a few of his cronies, if he also pardoned a whole bunch of people who deserved it, a whole bunch of people who were in prison for decades for weed. If he pardoned people who were economically vulnerable, people who were overcharged, people who were engaged in survival crimes. This is different. He's not even pretending, which tells you something. I mean, it tells you that for the next 3 years, we're going to see more and more of this. We're going to see more and more horrible, gross imbalances in how power is negotiated. The criminal legal system is just one place where we'll see that play out.